The common perception for many people in our culture today is that scientific advance makes belief in God unreasonable. Is that really the case? Dominic, what would you say to somebody who says that you can't believe in God because of scientific discoveries?
Well, from an engineer's perspective, when I look at nature, I see fabulous engineering. It has to do with the current state of nature. We can get hung up in a lot of investigations on how these kinds of systems, living systems for example, came about, how they were produced, but that's a very complex question. I'm not a biologist, although I like to study it. But the real interesting thing to me is when you look at the current state of living systems, you have to admit that you have fabulous engineering. And my question is, how do you get fabulous engineering by accident?
You know, Dominic, you're an ideal person to really explore this whole idea about scientific evidence for God's existence. You're a PhD in engineering. You are a Christian. You have a very powerful Christian witness. You are a professor at almost for 25 years now at Oral Roberts University. So you're somebody who's put science and faith together. You have those two areas of your life integrated in a very nice way. You know, the Bible tells us that God is revealed through the record of nature and that we should expect to see evidence for God's fingerprints in nature. And of course, I would say that if you see God's fingerprints in nature, is that not evidence for God's existence? So the question then becomes, do you see scientific evidence for God's existence?
I can remember studying engineering at Purdue University as an undergrad and how difficult it was to analyze systems and devise a solution to meet the requirements of a certain problem, solve a problem. And so I know how difficult it is to engineer things to work right. But when you look at nature, that's what you see. And maybe it's easier for me as an engineer to see instances of engineering within nature. But I think everybody is able to see, well, Romans 1:20 says everyone sees nature and understands through what has been made that there is a God. And when I look at nature, I'm confronted especially with instances of engineered systems.
You know, I'm a biochemist by training, and it's remarkable to me that when you look at how biologists describe living systems, they can't get away from design language. They can't get away from the machine metaphor. How does that strike you as an engineer?
Well, when you look at the systems within the human body, the brain appears to be for thinking, and the heart appears to be for pumping. All of these systems are integrated together in a beautiful manner to produce the functionality that is needed for life processes, which are not trivial. I mean, life processes are very complex and need to be precisely as they are, as from all that we can tell. And so I think it's impossible to get away from this embedded teleological understanding, this idea of purpose that exists within living systems. And biologists I know are recognizing this and are actually claiming now that this is the best way to analyze and make progress in understanding living systems, is to treat them as if they were engineered. Even E.O. Wilson, a famous biologist, says that the best way to make progress is to treat these systems as if they were engineered systems.